Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very exciting new taster of the Elegance of Living series. This is, I think, the first one for 2017. So how does it get any more exciting than this? I am not going to be the one talking this whole time. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our amazing expert, Mr. Christopher Hughes. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and welcome to everybody. For those of you not on the call yet and listening to this later, we apologize. How does it get any better than this? And what would it take to have more elegance here? We have a little hiccup with the timing today, but worry not. If you've registered for this call, you have got the recording, and hopefully you're watching or listening to it now. So I invite everyone that is here to ask questions, interact, get involved. If you want to know something, if you've got a burning desire, please fire away. This is for all of us. It's cool seeing everyone there on the videos. I see we've got people driving, we've got people having morning coffees, etc. So the Elegance of Living calls, as Rebecca said, this is the first one for 2017, but we have had these annually for the last few years, and we did a telecall series with Gary last year. And this year, we're going to do things a little bit different. The past years have been about giving you information around silver and porcelain and antiques and jewelry and all of these different things and what they can add to your life. And while that's wonderful, and there's so much information available to share, this year we're doing it different. This is the Master Series, and that doesn't mean that there are prerequisites for these calls, but it occurred to me that elegance for me and elegance for you may be very different things. And I spoke to Gary Douglas about this, and I said, Gary, is it that I'm teaching people with these calls to have taste by showing them what is a great piece of porcelain or furniture? And he said, no, you can't really teach people to have taste because it's going to be so different for everybody. But what you can teach people is to recognize the possibilities and the choices that they have available. So that is what I would like to offer to all of you, is to recognize the different possibilities that you have and to start inviting wealth, treasure, whatever that looks like for you, to find you. Because, I mean, the old trite but true adage is there that another man's trash is another man's treasure. And what I might value and find extraordinarily beautiful and want to add to my life may have no interest to you. So that's going to be the main difference with this series of calls coming up. It's going to be less and less about information and more about broadening your awareness to help these treasures find you. I mean, the stories that we all get excited about when we listen to different stories about people who find things in flea markets that they paid $2 or $3 for, but they happen to be like phenomenally valuable. I read a great one last week about a guy in. I can't search my topic, but I can search my title, actors or directors, categories like. Do you ever have Siri just turn on and start asking you things? That's so funny. I was playing with Simone and Brendan's son Nash the other day, and he fiddled with my phone, and he changed my name in the phone to Spank Daddy. And I'm in our store at the Antique Guild in Brisbane, and I'm dealing with these two very conservative older people, that take themselves terribly seriously. And all of a sudden, my phone chimes in and says, "I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Spank Daddy." And I was but as I was saying before Siri decided to join the call, see, everyone wants to be involved, even Siri. The stories that we all get excited about is those instances where people find things and these amazing treasures walk into your life. Like I was saying last week, I read a story in the Antique Trade Gazette about a guy who was cleaning out his shed. And in his shed, he had a chair that he was on his way to the tip or the dump if you're in North America, and he was throwing it out. And he decided, hang on a minute. And he stopped by this antique auction room and he said, would you consider selling this chair? Is it old enough? Is it good enough? And the antique guy said, yeah, I'd put 80 to 100 pounds on it. Not a great deal of money, but better than throwing it out. So he said, sure. And by the time it sold, there was enough speculation on what this chair could be that it sold for 11,000 pounds. Now, $20,000 for something you were about to throw out is pretty good, isn't it? How many of you would like $20,000 to come into your life with that kind of ease? And this is the reason why we all get a smile on our face, especially humanoids, when we hear these sorts of stories, is there's an element there of this guy following his awareness. And that's what created that occurring in his life. How many of you have been in a class before with Gary Douglas and been yelled at for using the word happened to me? That didn't happen to him. He chose it. He created it. It came into his life because he was willing to. And he listened to that little spidey sense that went, oh, maybe I'll just stop on the way there and see what's going on. And there's another guy who came into my store and he was telling me the story about going to a cash converters, which in Australia is basically a pawn shop. And he bought a Chinese painting for $12. And by the time he'd done a little bit of homework, it went to Christie's auction house in Hong Kong and it sold for $500,000. So again, there's another one of these stories of like, oh wow, not a bad return on investment from $12. That's pretty amazing. So what I would like to ask for is for these things to start occurring for all of us. And I prefaced the opening of this call with talking about the fact that it isn't just going to be about sharing information this time. It will be about heightening our awareness as well. But the information also is important. Because in those instances, they didn't have the information. But if you also have the information, this becomes a lot easier as well. So for those who have specific interests or requests, we're going to shape these calls around that. If you want to talk for 6 weeks about jewelry, we can do it. If you want to talk for 6 weeks about Victorian jewelry and the romantic and sentimental symbolism in the design of the jewels and which stones they use and the fact that they use hearts and moons sometimes and they use forget-me-not flowers and doves other times, we can talk about that too. As I say, there's a myriad of information out there and I've got plenty of it and willing to deliver what you'd like with you. But I'm going to shape this around you guys. My goal here is to give you more awareness on how to have these things come into your life with greater ease. I was talking with Blossom and we did a show with her yesterday called Cocktails and Consciousness. And what's amazing for me is the thing that always drew me to Access was the idea of ask and you shall receive. Okay? And there was a whole lot of other things about Access when I first encountered it that I went, I don't know. I'm not so comfortable with all of this. But that you shall receive, I always knew was true. And the more that I know, the more that I learn about an awareness of what I can ask for. It's amazing that most of the things I ask for, it takes at most about 6 months and they start to turn up in my life. And the more awareness I have of what I can ask for, the greater that becomes and the faster that becomes as well. So I'd like to invite you all to more of the same. How are we going out there? We're getting more people coming on. Again, we apologize for the mix-up.
Welcome to everyone that has joined. So thank you for coming. We're happy that you are humanoid enough to join us.
Yes, good morning and welcome. Good evening, wherever you are. Again, please feel free to chime in with any questions that you might have. I'm sure Rebecca will call them out to me if I don't see them come in. There's a chat bar, I believe, on the side screen. Is that right, Rebecca? That's
correct. There's a little chat icon that's down at the bottom of your screen. So you can press that if you have any questions.
Cool. All right, so as I was saying, you know, the whole aspect of ask and you shall receive is so potently true. So how do you know what to ask for? How do you know what it is you'd like to add more of to your life and have more? You know, as you get exposed to more things like, you know, the finer things in life or that which sort of denotes wealth. It's like there's a huge variety of things there that you could choose and ask for. So how do you know which to what to go for? You go out and you start exploring, and suddenly, with knowledge of them and more exposure, they start to become present for you. Have you ever noticed that as soon as you learn about something that you've never heard of before or never seen, suddenly it just pops up everywhere? You know, like you learn about a new concept or a new style of building or even a new color. And as soon as you've learned about it, you start seeing it everywhere. The way I explain that is it's always been there. It's just that your awareness of it wasn't there. So we filtered it out of what we're willing to see. And as soon as you change that and start to have awareness of it, your life becomes a little bit richer, a little bit fuller. There's a new detail to see and be present for. And that's, again, what these calls are all about. They're about adding that to your life so that you can have that added to as a palette to play with and a color. And another example of that, or way to look at it, is it's like walking through a garden or a forest. If you're a gardener or a botanist, or, you know, really, you know your plants, you're into your trees, all of that stuff, you can walk through and have no knowledge of it, and it's sort of a lovely experience and maybe a bit two-dimensional. But the more you're willing to be present for it and learn about it and explore it and see it, it goes from two-dimensional to three-dimensional to four to all of these multi-dimensions, and it becomes this broader, richer, deeper experience. See what I'm getting at?
Hey, Chris, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Earlier you were talking about how elegance is different for different people. Can you touch a little bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Carlina, well, basic example that I could give with great ease is like, say, in my own household, I have the things that I'm excited about, that I'm interested in, and that are easy for me. And they do come just like that to me. Like, say, for example, for me, antiques, I'm super into it. And so it's never an effort. There's always, I learn so much and information comes really quick, but there's never any hard work involved. You know, I'll spend all day in my antique store, and then if I have a day off, I'm in somebody else's antique store. And I like to read books about antiques, and I'll watch documentaries and TV shows about antiques. And that's what it is for me, which is why I wanted to get people to see that these calls aren't necessarily just about antiques. I'm willing to make them about whatever it is for each person on the call and each person that comes along that wants to be involved. Those are areas where I have a lot of information, and I can change this so that it's whatever it is for you. Like my partner, as I was saying, the example in our house, he's a designer and into interior design and that sort of thing. So his experience of colors, of architecture, of important 20th century furniture design, that kind of thing, he has this enthusiasm for it and zest for it, and as a result, awareness of it is so different than mine. You have an area in your life where you go, boring, not interesting, like, say, accounting or bookkeeping. It's one for a lot of people where they go, oof.
That's kind of what I do.
There's not a lot of elegance in that. It's interesting.
Yeah.
We've had some technical difficulties with the call this morning, and even with the formation of these telecalls have been kind of like clunky and weird. And I realized, this is like the most inelegant execution and creation of these series that we've ever had. And A, that ain't wrong. And B, okay, what is it about elegance that we can be looking at here to make this work and create this bigger, better and brighter?
Right, because I forgot, like, the definition of elegance really isn't, it's not the riches and the, I mean, it's part of it, like the riches and the beauty, but it's really that no effort piece that I forgot about.
Absolutely. The example that Gary gives all the time is elegance being the maximum impact with the minimal effort. And it took me a long time to wrap my head around that in a way, because, when you ask people on the street and you say, what is elegance to you? For most people, it's bow ties and candlelit dinners and everyone being very stiff and proper. And there's not a lot of elegance in that. And people have moved away from elegance because they want a life of ease and convenience, and they want a life that they can put in the dishwasher. And that's not necessarily inelegant, because for some people it is. But Gary always used to give the example of, he can clean his house really well. He can do that job. But if he hires somebody else to do it for him, in that time, he can create a whole lot more elsewhere. That's ease. That's maximum impact with minimum effort. And that's the energy of these calls. We can talk ad nauseum about antiques, and in the first two series of these calls, they were very information dense, and I think that's fantastic, and we will have some of that this time as well. And there's so much information out there. There's books and books and books and books and documentaries and videos and movies and experts to speak to and this and that and the other. We can go through all of that. But what the people who are involved with access and that come on these calls have, that is their absolute ace in the hole, is awareness.
Right.
So what if these calls were about heightening our awareness? And how much more ease and elegance can you have with even more awareness?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, having been on the first two series, I mean, some of the information that is in your head is incredible. And it was so fascinating to learn about the different time periods and how that influences fashion and jewelry and furniture and everything, like absolutely everything, which was really, really cool. And I keep forgetting about that piece of elegance. Like it's in my life and it's showing up, and the willingness to actually receive more of that elegance, I keep actually forgetting about it. So I'm really excited that the Master Series is more about that elegance, however that shows up for me, which is something that I'd like to explore.
Absolutely. So I realize that for me, elegance, yes, I love antiques and art. That's great. But probably the most elegant choice that I've ever made in my life was when Gary Douglas invited me to run the Antique Guild. And I said, no. And then he said, please. And I said, okay, for a month. And the maximum impact with minimum effort in that instance was just saying yes. And what I received as a result has been amazing. Have you ever read the quote from Richard Branson who says, if you get the great job offer, but you don't know how to do the job, say yes and figure it out later. You know, there's a lot of elegance in that can create an amazing impact in your life by just going, okay, you know what? The easiest thing here is to say, yes, sure. Like, and that's creation as well. And that's what leads people to great creation. The elegance behind great creation is absolutely phenomenal. And it's a building block of creation that most people have not acknowledged.
Say more about that, the elegance behind great creation. What do you mean by that?
Well, think of all the things in the world that were invented accidentally.
Yeah, so true.
You know, there's this thing that they call coincidences or they call serendipity. And that's not actually necessarily true. It was just so damn easy, the way that thing came about, that it was a game changer for people. And it wasn't about it looking like the way they planned out and ordered and structured and how they were going to build this or do this. They just went out going, okay, show me, how is this going to work? Let's explore this. They started with a question and following their nose, and something went pop. It's like the fact that the guy took the chair to the antique dealer. For those of you who missed the story at the beginning of the call, there's this antique dealer who took a chair he was taking it to the dump, but he stopped by antique dealers just out of curiosity. And while the antique dealer said he'd sell it for 80 to 100 pounds, so it sold in the end for 11,000 pounds. That's creation. That's not...
Right, creation by following your awareness.
Exactly.
Huh. That's interesting.
And for those who do want a more opulent and decadent life, you can use elegance to create that. And in a lot of the trappings of wealth, there is elegance involved. You know, like we talk about sterling silver a lot and how back in, especially the 19th century, everything had a specific purpose, or it was engineered and designed to execute a particular job with speed and skill. You know, you had one scoop that was for macaroni and one scoop that was for Stilton cheese and an oyster fork and an olive fork and a cake comb, and each individual thing had a job or a duty that
I know. I purchased some little spoons from you that I didn't realize actually what they were, and when you explained it, they're iced tea spoons. They're beautiful and silver, and they have like a leaf bottom to them where the spoon is, but they double as a straw, which is so cool.
That's cool.
It's amazing. And I mean, I would have never thought that that was even possible, but I can see like the elegance in that, and how you know, you can stir your iced tea, you can stir the sugar in, and then you can sip with it as well, which is just brilliant.
Exactly. So how easy is that? And how much fun is that? And I mean, what amazing is the team that we have assembled to produce this call this time. We've got you, Carlina. We've got you, Rebecca. We've got Tiffany and Sewell. We've got Brett and Georgia. And I realize we have a lot of different people working on this call we ever have before. But the thing that you guys all have in common is a capacity to create with elegance. Because how much of your life have you made about do, get it done, meet the deadline, get it right, go, have to achieve, have to get this done, okay, I've done this meeting, I'm on to this meeting, and this and this and this, and we have to do so much. And that is what we're prized for, because we produce a result.
Yeah.
And what if that could be so much more elegant?
Hey Chris, it's Tiffany.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, I think that's you're just speaking exactly to what was going on for me around just elegance in life and in work. Can you guys hear me okay?
There's a bit of feedback.
Yeah, it sounds really weird on my end. Hang on, I'll see if I can change it.
Okay, I think we figured it out. Try again now, Tiffany.
Hello, is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Way better.
Correct. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, just, you know, that elegance in life and that elegance in work and that elegance in creation. And, you know, obviously you guys can probably see I've got a baby, and, you know, that sort of speeds up a lot of things in your life and creates a situation where you're kind of like, oh, wow, you know, like I've got so much that I want to have happening and so much that I'm creating. And then there's this baby. You know, so you know that elegance, but also I'm just loving this idea of having more languaging available to ask for what you'd like for. It's just huge for me. You know, actually, there have been so many times in my life where I'm like, all right, ask the universe for something, and I'm like, I don't really have the elegant languaging to actually ask for what the energy that I know that I'm looking to have and create in my life. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think this, you know, the first series of everything you taught us was just amazing, and this is just such an addition to that. So yeah. Yeah, exactly.
A lot more than a dog or a baby going on. You've got dogs in the background and surfboards and all kinds of things happening. It's amazing. But you've hit it right on the head with the eloquence. Because, I mean, I was giving the example to someone the other day. I said, okay, so if you had $1 million to go out and buy a diamond ring, do you know what to ask for? Do you know what you're really looking for? And having that information makes a huge difference. And as you say, it's the languaging to create the eloquence of what you're asking for. And it's not about specifics. It's not about being specific, but it's sort of like, have you ever walked through a museum and gone, whoa, look at all these paintings. Look at these statues. Look at all these different possibilities I'd never really thought of before. They broaden your palette and your awareness of what's possible so that you can then go out and say, okay, I'd like more of that particular energy in my life. Or, wow, I'd really like one of those in my life. Like, I mean, speaking with Blossom the other day, and she was talking about being in the British Museum and seeing the Rosetta Stone. And it drawing her awareness to, you know, ancient Egypt and that sort of aspect of history and design, and going, there's something about that I'd like to add to my life. So exposure to all of these things broadens your horizon. And that's what I mean by what Gary pointed out to me, of allowing you to recognize the choices and the possibilities that you'd like to add to your life.
Hey, Chris?
Yes?
This is Marilyn.
Marilyn!
Hi!
Hi, Marilyn! You're one of my favorites.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy I happen to be on my computer. I was turning in an hour later. One thing that I've realized about myself is a lot of what elegance is. Whoops.
Godverdomme.
Can we try again? I don't know why.
Hang on, Ivy, if you can hear us, you are not muted.
There we go. Now we're back.
So I love elegance in hotels and restaurants and service. And I really realized that on this last trip to Austin. I stayed at a new hotel. The Four Seasons was like beyond the beyond now, which is fine. And the service was excellent. And the room design was excellent. I love to go to hotels' rooms and go, well, they should do this and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, anyway, I love that. The restaurant was crap. And partially because they didn't have an elegance to it. The people didn't know really what they were cooking. They didn't know how to talk. The servers didn't know how to talk about it. So it created this kind of grating energy. And then when I got back to Santa Fe, my neighbor had been watching my place, plants, mail, etc. So I took her to Geronimo's, which is one of the top restaurants in Santa Fe. It was bliss. It was just like, we had the waiter of our dreams. You know, he would show up, and I don't know how to describe him. I mean, it was just fun and amazing. And I think you'd like this wine with your lamb. I'm like, it's a little tannic. Well, let me suggest this one. And the whole experience had that sense of elegance to it. Just so I'm not quite sure what to do with that in my life in general, but I'm very aware of it, not of elegance, not just of things and colors, but of that, the elegance of service. And there was a great, what I realized, particularly with this waiter and the people in the hotel, it's not about hierarchy or one up, one down or any of that. It's about everyone acknowledging the ease that this can all be.
You're absolutely right. And that there's the creative element in that, but there's also, you know, when we look at the elegance of service, so many people immediately jump to say Downton Abbey.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that style.
Right.
There's an energy there of
Yeah.
honoring the people, everyone knowing what they're doing and being present and aware of what their role and job is and how they're contributing to the whole experience.
Yes, because I go to a very local down-home New Mexican restaurant that mostly locals go to, but it has that same quality of elegance.
Absolutely.
In a way. Yeah.
That's the thing. And it's great to see that example of elegance and the energy of elegance in a few different examples, because that's the thing that most people they've got stuck in their head, that elegance is sterling silver and candlelit suppers and that's you know how I like to live. But how you choose to live is up to you. There's no right way.
Right.
But we can all have elegance in our life in what we choose.
Yes.
You know, modern design is not inelegant. It can be in its execution and how it's used and all of the rest of it. And, you know, there can be elegance in your day in going to the drive-thru instead of a 3-course meal.
Because it's ease. What creates not elegance, like at this, what was supposed to be a 4-star restaurant at this hotel, is people pretending that they know what to do, but they don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, the greatest thing that creates an inelegance is force.
Yes, and pretense, I would think.
Absolutely. Yeah. In pretense, there is most often proving, and in proving, there is how much force is there in proving.
Exactly.
And how many times in your life have you had antiques and art shoved down your throat with pretense and proving? So everything that is, and everything you've bought and made real about that for all of you out there, can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So how many times have you had money shoved down your throat with pretense and proving? Yeah, and everything that is, can we destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes.
Great. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So what if you could have elegance with money? Everything that is, let's destroy and create all that. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Have you ever seen someone create elegantly with money?
Now, can you say more about that?
Yeah. It's like, I'm always willing to use my money. I don't mind paying more for things. I don't mind spending the extra dollars Like if I know I can get something cheaper down the road, it doesn't necessarily mean that I will go and do that. I will always look for what will create the most here. Like, say, for example, I have a porcelain restoration person that does porcelain work for us, and they are the most gifted people when it comes to repairing broken porcelain. Because believe me, broken porcelain, it's like can go from being worth $10,000 to $50, like that. And restored, it's still, it's not what it used to be. But these guys that do this restoration do it with such care and such kindness. And they really enjoy the work, and they always appreciate what I bring them, because they always say, oh, you always bring beautiful things that you want treated with absolute care. Do you know how many people want to cut corners on a job and just glue it back together? You want to match the colors and do it right and have it brought back to an A grade. And I pay more to go to them. And each time I go to them as well, they always want to show me some things that they have for sale, some little bits of sterling silver from 30 years ago when they used to be dealers, and now they're in their 80s. And I know they don't even have a pension because they're not from this country. So I buy things from them. And I pay too much for them.
Cool.
For what they're worth retail, because I know what it creates in their life. And I know that by doing that, I'm honoring them and what they do in other areas for our business and for my life. And it shows them that there are other possibilities. It creates a possibility in their life that they wouldn't necessarily have if you were just looking at, well, this is too expensive for that item. I'm not going to be able to make much for it. So what? Sometimes in an antique dealer's world, we're always buying and selling. And of course, you want to buy things for a low price so that you can make a decent profit on it. Sometimes, though, you have things in your store that you paid a little too much for, but they add an energy. And it creates something. And it's not about the dollars. And there is an impact there that goes beyond, quite often, what would be created if everything was about the dollar.
Thank you. That's actually really cool.
You do it all the time. Do you know what? Carlina was helping me at a jewelry show in South Africa. Okay? And Rebecca does this all the time too. But Carlina was helping with this jewelry show. And we had these two boys helping us, these guys working at this resort in South Africa. And they were so invested in the job. They were so excited about what they were doing and helping us. I've never had staff at a resort help us like this. They were pulling down tree branches and hanging them artfully in the displays so that we could hang necklaces and rings off it. And they were going the whole 9 yards. It was amazing. And they found this ring, and these two fellas are wanting to get married. And they were like, oh, this is exactly what we're looking for, but it was a little bit hefty for their budget. So Carlina just turned to him and said, I'm going to buy it for you. And it lit up their life. That's a creation, an elegance of creation with money that's available to all of you.
Right? That's so cool. Yeah, I've forgotten that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot that I do that all the time. So how much elegance are you as beings that you're not acknowledging?
Yeah.
And how much elegance are you trying to annihilate and destroy with the force and the doing and the busy in your life?
Yeah, wow.
So everything that is, can we destroy and create all that?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pop, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds.
Hey, Chris, it's Rebecca. I love this conversation. I actually just came back from Tokyo and India, and something that I'd realized, because we're staying at great places. Like in India, we're staying at this hotel called the Imperial that's basically set in 1911 and hasn't changed a single bit since. It's wonderful. Like directly transported back to 1911. But the same kind of thing was still going on in modern Tokyo as well. And I realized that there's such a sense of the colonial manners that's still left in all the areas of the Commonwealth, that like I saw young ladies having high tea in the Intercontinental in Tokyo and seeing the exact same manners and elegance of way of doing things applied. And it was one of those things that I could see those women there, there's like young women my age having high tea, having an elegance to it, having an energy to it, could go and have high tea anywhere in the world and know exactly what was, required and expected and how to have an ease with it. And it hit me in a different level of what this sense of the education and the energy you be and the ease that you can actually have with other people in your world, that makes your reach anywhere in the world really easy. And I hadn't actually seen that until I had gone to this trip and then been to two completely different cultures to my own and seeing that the same things still apply. It was just one of those things that I didn't realize. It's like, it's beyond culture, and you think that your manners and your way of being and the way that you do things in the world is basically based on where you are, but elegance is actually transcends all of that. And the ease you can have with different people, you just simply then tweak it to their culture.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing though, Rebecca, because I know for you growing up in New Zealand, which is like the epitome of colonial etiquette and rules and all that. But it is in Canada where I grew up, and in America as well, there's this idea that rejecting all of that creates more ease, but it actually isn't. It's actually destroying ease in favor of convenience. So everywhere that we've bought that convenience is greater than ease, could we destroy and create all that?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys.
Right, because it's much like, instead of using, old antique furniture that has the beauty and the elegance and the personality, I would like to say, we choose IKEA because it's easy and it's cheap and you can throw it out when you don't like it, kind of thing.
Exactly. And what's that creating for the planet?
Oh yeah, nothing great. It's really awful.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like companies know that if they build a product that lasts, their market shrinks. And so much of today is about how much can I sell, how much can I turn over. That's the amazing thing about antiques. I mean, we have furniture here in the house that's 250 years old, and it still looks great. And it's amazing to me that people would choose something else, because quite often you can find it cheaper. And how easy.
And it's interesting because I recently moved into like a huge house actually with some roommates, and I only had crappy furniture that I had bought because I needed something or whatever, like used. And I didn't want to bring any of it because I'm like, this house is way more elegant than any of the furniture that I have. So I literally left most of it behind and took only a couple pieces because we had nothing. But that's one of the things, like going furniture shopping, it's amazing how difficult it is to actually find good quality, really beautiful furniture. Like, it's not around. Like, everywhere that I go, it's the crap that you would throw out after a year or two use, and it doesn't, like, it has that same energy. Like, I don't actually want it in my house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that amazes me is with antique furniture, you wouldn't just cut down a tree and use the wood. Most often, with the old traditional style of making furniture, they would fell a tree and they would allow the wood to cure naturally for a period of anywhere from 10 to 50 years before they started working it and crafting it and carving it and polishing it. And there's this whole organic process that allows the creation of a piece of furniture, rather than, particle board and plastic pushed out in a mold as quick as possible to get it sold. It was a lifestyle for people that created and produced these things.
So that's probably what I refer to when I'm calling it personality.
Yeah. You can still feel the people who made it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is, that's what I like to live with as well. But I also say to people all the time, look for the pieces being made today. If antiques aren't your thing, they will be the antiques of tomorrow. They're created with that same spirit and the same level of artistry and craftsmanship that will create a future. Because the people producing the IKEA pieces that are pumped out and made quick, there's no future there. There's profit today is what their aim is. It's not about creating tomorrow. For the people that made the antique furniture, the change was, and it actually started in the Industrial Revolution that we covered in the second series of The Elegance of Living. The change in the Industrial Revolution was how much can we make and how fast, and adulteration came in to sort of cheapen the quality of everything to get it out quicker and to more people. And that's when we stopped creating the future,
right?
Started creating the bottom line of our balance sheet.
So the elegance that we ask for in our life is actually also the creation of our future.
It's actually the creation of everybody's future.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, and it's also committing to your life.
Right.
So often I buy things. I mean, I tell the story as well that it's funny because the same week that I said yes while I was in New Zealand to running the Antique Guild, I also for the very first time started buying things that I knew I would have forever or as long as I wanted to. And they were things that as a gypsy of consciousness, not really committed to being any one place or doing anything, you wouldn't invest in, like silver bowls and salt dishes and things like that. And it seems so funny because that small choice of, I think I spent $100 on these items, was a commitment to my life and having a future. Like when you first bought that Tanzanite ring, what future did you commit yourself to?
Yeah, that was huge. I was so aware of the future and it scared the shit out of me, but there wasn't any, I had to. I was not going to not have that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I love having you on this call. Same reason why I love having Rebecca on this call. Everyone on this team I've seen commit not only to elegance, but to creating a future. So, guys, I'm loving this conversation. I'm so excited. We've gone beyond what I thought a taster was going to be today. And again, what's right about the technical hiccups that we're not getting? What would it take to have more elegance with this? But I actually have to have a little break here because in the next 10 minutes, I will be on the Voice America show, the Access Conscious Voice America show, which instead of the regular hosts of Gary and Dane, today it's Grace Douglas and Christopher Hughes. So I invite you all as well to jump on Voice America show if you're enjoying this conversation and want some more of it. And this is a taster for the series that's coming up starting in April. I believe the first date is April 7th, and I'm foggy on the rest of the details for now. I apologize, but I'd love to have you all come on. As I say, this is the master series of The Elegance of Living, and it's going to be just a little different than the last two series.
Cool.
So,
Chris, thank you so much for this conversation. I'm actually more excited about this call now than I ever was before. So thank you. Like this already has contributed so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much as well, Carlina. And Rebecca's just flashing up on the screen there to everyone in the chat about the web address, which you probably all know, theeleganceofliving.com/master series. I believe it is if you want to sign up and join for the next series. And I hope to see you there.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.